Welcome to Not a Great Whisperer podcast. I am Katy Rey, your host, and I interview ordinary people living extraordinary lives. Basically, all the cool people I meet everywhere I go, I like to bring on the podcast so you can get to know them too. But today I have Shirley Jump on. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
New York Times and USA Today best-selling author. Published more, what are you on, over 80?
86. I think my 86th book just came out. Yeah.
What?
In 24 countries.
Yeah, in 24 countries. I think one of the things you wrote is you don't even know where some of them are located, which is good.
Yeah.
Which is solid. I mean, it's honest, right?
Geography's not my strong suit.
I'm a writer, and I'm not doing geography today. I love that. So Shirley and I met at a networking event, and I'm going to tell everybody what I was like, oh my God, your dress is amazing. And she went right into her thrifting badassery. And I was like, oh, what? She's like, no, listen, I have all the tips now. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because it was amazing. But Shirley, let's talk about thrifting a little bit because I think it's amazing.
Oh, and I spread that gospel everywhere I go because I'm like huge on saving the environment. Yeah. And we got 10 years until global climate change is irreversible. And so I started thrifting a long time ago, actually. After my divorce, I was actually poor. And so I started thrifting because of that. And then I realized that I was getting either like new or brand new designer clothes for literally a tenth of the price, if that. You know, I'll get a Calvin Klein dress for $6 or $7, and they'll send you a little thing. I shop through ThredUp, and they'll send me a little thing saying you saved this many gallons of water, this many fossil fuels, this many, miles of trucks being driven. And I told Katy when I was first talking to her that I also feel good that small children are not working in factories and sleeping there. If you've ever seen documentaries about that, you feel really, really bad.
And that's what got me like, wait, I want to be thankful for that too.
Right.
Like what? I love that about you too, because one of the things I think is, in our just women in business world is like we're walking around, we judge each other. We're just like, oh, what is she wearing? Oh, what is that? And I love that you were just like, I thrifted this.
Right.
Like everybody can. Like, this is who I am at my core. Like, well, why don't we do something for the environment? And I was like, hell yeah, Shirley, you're right.
And I was wearing I don't remember what designer it was last night, maybe Banana Republic dress, and somebody complimented on it. And I got like 4 women to take coupons from ThredUp.
Good.
And I was like, listen, I cycle my entire wardrobe. I mean, my workout clothes to all my dresses and jeans and everything. I cycle everything for $600 or $800 a year. I just send back what I have worn.
And that's like one dress
and
for
resell
someone.
it. Right.
It's just insane.
Right. And I've got an entire new wardrobe. I'll keep a few things, but most everything goes back eventually.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then, we could talk about those 80 books, whatever, or 13. It's whichever way we want to go. It's perfect. But I do, when you told me like you were a copywriter in this, I didn't know that you were an author of so many, it's not fiction, nonfiction.
Fiction novels.
Yeah. And I loved it. I was looking at some of what made you know that you loved really storytelling?
So I started off as a journalist by lying about my age when I was 11 and getting a job in a newspaper. And I learned probably by the time I got through high school that I didn't have the stomach for it. I wasn't that Geraldo Rivera, let's go unmask the killer thing. I had to call the widow of my high school history teacher and ask her about him dying on a family vacation. And I just felt like a horrible human being. So I realized that I didn't want to be that kind of person. And I started working for magazines doing stories, like happy stories, a guy that invented some kind of defibrillator thing, stuff like that. And fiction started calling to me, but I was not good at it. So I had written 10 books in 8 years before I sold my first one because it's a whole different process to write a book as opposed to just writing an article, which is something that my clients find out when they're working on a book with me. It's a totally different animal.
Did you say you wrote how many?
10 books in 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was stubborn.
And how many pages did it range?
They were probably 60 to 80,000 words. So I don't know, 200 and something pages.
Wow.
So yeah, I wrote like one every 9 months or whatever. And I had gotten decent feedback on the first one. And I think that's part of what kept me going. And I just really, really wanted to do it. I loved storytelling. But I also continued to maintain and have always continued to maintain the nonfiction side because it gives me a nice balance of things to do every day. No day is the same. So I do both.
That's so cool. And how much have you enjoyed working with other or authors or just people that want to do a book? I wouldn't say authors, but what has that done for you? Because I feel like you have like a little bit of like teaching mode. So it kind of like helps people and like gets them organized and teaches them and stuff. Is that one of the things that you thrive in?
I do teach a lot. I actually teach online and I speak a lot. And I have a how-to book on how to write fiction as well. So I love that part of my job and part of working with an author from start to finish on their book, because I am most happiest if I can get in there early before they start writing and they've got 400 pages that we're going to have to cut, is to kind of guide them along the way in baby steps of how to write, unless they don't want to learn how to write. Not everybody wants to, and how to market the book, because the most important part is how are you going to make money off of it afterwards.
I love that. And you have marketing background.
Yeah, I was a director of communications for a marketing agency for a while.
Yeah. How is that, being a part of an agency and now doing your own thing?
I'd rather chew off my own arm than never do it again. I hate marketing so much. I hate marketing very, very much. So it doesn't sit well with my soul to be, selling gas pumps or children's toys or whatever,
got it. I was like very quick to answer and got the visual, nailed it. We're good. So with everything you're doing now and so you're in your second marriage. How is that? How is
he's
that
awesome.
season?
I just got married in May, and he's awesome. I had never imagined I would get married again, but yeah, as soon as I met him, I knew it was just kind of one of those things.
And how cool is it for where you are now to know yourself so much more? Like, how does that feel? And to be able to relate to so many women who maybe got lost in their first marriage and really lost themselves, and then know who they are, and then were able to meet someone too.
Well, I think I had to do the work too, because my first marriage was not a good marriage. It was very toxic and very damaging to me and my self-esteem. And I went through a couple of not great relationships afterwards. So I just kept doing the work. I kept going to groups and reading books and going to therapy, and I did some EMDR to work through trauma. And I waited until I was ready to meet somebody that had their crap together as well as I did. And I think that makes a big difference. Otherwise, you keep repeating the same patterns over and over again and marrying the same person and wondering why it's not working out right.
Yeah. And I always say, people are always like, you complete me. No.
Right.
Like, compliment each other. Like, level up. Yeah. Shouldn't be that complete factor. But, you did the work and you continue to do the work. How does that look for you too? Running your own business, being able to really take on whatever clients you want. How does that feel with the boundaries that you set for yourself now?
The good thing is that my business, a few years ago, I made a shift where I decided I only take on books that had impact. There was not going to be any I'm the greatest business person ever books. I don't want to write that kind of thing. And I am grateful to have enough work, because I still write some fiction and then I write a lot of nonfiction for clients, to pick and choose. Just because somebody calls me doesn't mean I can take them on next month. It depends on where I am in my schedule and whether or not I feel called to work on that particular book. So I think it's been very empowering. I've always worked for myself, but I've never had an actual formal company with employees and payroll and all of that until this last 2 years. And it's been awesome to have an actual staff.
Cool.
When I say we, I mean I have a staff. So it's been pretty incredible.
And how many staff members do you have?
So I have one that's full-time, and then I have two others that are part-time, and then some that I hire on an as-needed basis.
And all remote?
Yes.
That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool.
It's awesome.
That is awesome to say. You're like, I literally am we. I'm not. I know what you're saying. I feel like we are doing this, and you're like, who?
Right.
Who's doing
somebody the other day that I edited a thesis or something for them, and she's like, so do I Venmo you? And I'm like, no, I have a real company. My accountant wouldn't like that. I'm going to send you an invoice from QuickBooks.
That would not be okay. So how am I paying you? Through my business account. I love that. And what about, say, I like to ask this question because I feel like it gets to who you are. If we were to meet on the street, who are you? And don't go with your labels. Go with who are you at your
I don't
core.
have a label, because I am a person who literally goes with the flow, because I don't care. I tell my husband all the time, I don't care where we eat. I don't care what I wear. I don't care where we are, because it all matters about the person that you're with and whether you are in tune with and connected to the person that you're with. You can go to Paris with somebody that you hate and have a miserable time, or go to Burger King with someone you love and have a great time. So I try as much as possible, because we're not all, anybody says I'm 100% authentic is lying. They're not.
Yeah.
But I try to be as much me as I possibly can be, as dorky and goofy.
Yeah.
And I got into Mensa when I was young. And so my friends give me a hard time when I can't find like left or right. They're like, way to go, Mensa. But I'm okay with that because I'm dumb and smart at the same time. I'm silly and goofy and clumsy and athletic all at the same time.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a Burger King sponsorship from that.
Right.
Thank you so much, Shirley.
Maybe I should have said Harold Seltzers or something.
Maybe. So living in Florida, you were not always from here.
No, I'm originally from Massachusetts.
That's a change. How do you feel about being in Florida?
I have mixed feelings on Florida because of the politics, but having grown up in the Northeast, where it's a very accepting, welcoming, not liberal, I'm saying like embracing community where I grew up. And then I lived in Indiana, which is the complete opposite of that, for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And then Florida kind of sort of falls in the middle depending on where you're living.
Yeah.
I love the weather. I love the beaches. I love all of that. But I really wish all the tourists would go home or go to another place and spend their money because the traffic is insane.
Yeah, it's got a little crazy. But how do you feel just about it's like a new season for you? Mm-hmm. And I think Florida's weather is like perfect to be in a new season, but it's also like you say you don't care about it. How are you able to really stay that neutral person in this type of like atmosphere right now? I feel as a writer, you're able to like hone in on things, maybe just write your thoughts.
Because everybody feels strongly about their own beliefs, right? I have friends that are on completely opposite political spectrums. And I think the key is to respect their point of view. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to debate it. You don't have to argue it. I'm not in charge of how things go in this state or in this country. I can just do my part and keep track of my own little corner. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like my commitment to changing the climate. Like, I'm not going to be able to stop fossil fuels from being used. I mean, that's completely irrational to think that. I'm not going to chain myself to a tree. But I am going to plant a pollinator garden, and I'm going to grow butterflies and give homes for bees and compost and get a rain garden and things like that to do what I can in my little corner. And so I look at the world the same way. If everybody tended their own little corner well, we would have a better world.
Oh, I love that. Maybe you can help me do all of those little gardens. The kids will love it. And you have 2 kids?
We have 5 between us, but I have 2 of my own.
2 of your own.
They're all grown up, so they're little kids, yay.
I know, Shirley, we talked about this. When I said the ages, you're like, okay, wow.
Right.
Yeah,
well, we're taking all 5 of them on a family vacation. It's something that my new husband's mother does with her sons and her grandkids. And so as soon as I got married, I'm like, okay, we're taking all of our kids on vacation. We're copying your mother's idea. And I've called them and told them it's team building.
I love that.
Build a team. And they are over the moon excited to do it. Like, we're going to tie-dye shirts and make bracelets and stuff.
I love it. And where are you guys going?
LJ, Georgia.
Oh my God, how cool.
It'll be fun.
It's a team building. That's awesome. And all of them are older. So do any of them have children or significant others?
Significant others, yeah. And if they want to bring that person, then they got to foot that bill. we're only paying for our own kids. But one of the things that both of my kids expressed was that they really wanted a family. And my husband's family is a normal family. You know, they play card games. We made gingerbread houses at Christmas, you know, and it's sort of the dream that I always had for my own children. And so I think it's going to be really, really good.
Any age to feel that. Right. And oh my God, what a fun idea.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm excited. I would like to be adopted. No, we do fun stuff too. And I believe that, right? I watch my sisters and I play cards all the time, and my kids will be like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, we're still playing cards. We used to do this when we were little. And that's a beautiful thing to know that they've expressed that to you, and you're like, here you go.
Right, exactly.
Was it hard when it was just you and them?
It definitely had its difficult moments. I had a long time of extreme poverty after my divorce, and it was humbling and painful and difficult, and it seemed like it would never end. I mean, there was several months where I didn't eat. I fed my son, and I would go to my friends' houses and be like, hey, what's for dinner? You know, and like it got so bad that a lot of people never knew. I didn't want my friends to feel bad for me.
Yep.
But I was going to the food bank, a food bank that I eventually ended up volunteering at. And it taught me a lot about what's really important in life. Because I had the big house. I used to live in a 6,000 square foot house on 90 acres of woods. And I had the car I wanted and all the shoes I wanted and all of this. And I was never happy. And yet when I was completely, utterly busted, broke, no money whatsoever, going to a food bank to pick up food, I found my true self and I found happiness. And I actually built a really good connection with my kids through that because we kind of were all in it together.
Yeah. That's super powerful because now that you volunteer at that food bank, it's how can we serve others?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
People were serving me and how can I do it right back?
And you stop judging people. Like I had a brand new car that was leased. So it wasn't like, there was a whole story behind why I still had that lease. And I stopped judging people that pull up in a Lexus because I don't know their story. And overall, it just goes into that whole philosophy of tend your own garden and don't worry about other people. They're basically doing the best that they can.
Yeah. And it's like, why are we do you want everybody to walk up here? Do you want everybody to have to find the bus? Like, is that like what we want? That's a really good mindset to be able to open people's minds on that. We have to stop judging. People from all levels need support. And how young were the kids then?
My son was 15, so my daughter was out of the house already, but she was struggling her own financially because she was like 19. So it was, young kids done with money. But it was a great experience. I say that now that I'm far out of it.
Yeah.
But it really taught me so much about myself and about how strong I am, even when I think I can't be.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's what made you the badass that you are today. Shirley, I appreciate you sharing that with us, though, because I think people, 80 books, author, don't realize that a lot of some of this work ethic came from really, really hard positions. But you're in a beautiful space now. You've created this space for yourself. You're on your healing journey. You are living your authentic life, even though you said... If someone says they're being fully authentic, they're not.
Well, nobody really is. Like we all do filters once in a while, right?
100%. I look great in a filtered photo. But I appreciate you came today. How can we find you and your company, of course?
So my company is Jumpstart Creative Solutions, and I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I have a website. And then my author name is Shirley Jump. And so you can type that in. You literally get 11 million hits. My brother used to go to work and show off and say, look how many hits I get on my sister. So I'm pretty easy to find because I'm like the only one.
It's an awesome name.
It is.
And have you had that your entire writing career?
It was what I married, actually.
Oh, okay.
And so I just kept it. And now I have to, because I'm not that name anymore, I had to do a DBA for my own former name.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
It's so weird.
I am my former name. So I took my husband's name, Ray, too. But I was always like, where would I have gotten with Katie Safi? I like Katy Rey. It sounds like a country singer.
Right. And it goes good for a rap nickname.
Right. And it goes great for my rap name. Thank you for bringing that back. Always turn it around on that. But you are a pleasure to chat with. This has been amazing. Thank you for joining here. You can find Shirley at KatyRey.com, at Not a Great Whisperer podcast on all major platforms, and of course, Not a Great Whisperer IG page. But you have been awesome.
Thank you.
I
Thanks
hope
for
you had
having me.
fun in the new studio.
It's awesome.
But thanks for joining.